what we will do as it relates to the extraordinary session, when we adjourn, we will have a resolution that will bring us back on February 2nd, and as currently written, adjourn February 9th. The vehicle, as I understand it, that is to be used in consideration of the governor's proposal will be a House joint resolution. And we will see how that progresses. I have talked fairly extensively with the press about it and what it is, in referring not to it as Insure Tennessee, but it as the vehicle for it, because it can make a difference in how we run the extraordinary session, how committees will or will not deal with whatever it, the vehicle, is, and all those things that really are very important to the work we do and the inner workings of our procedures, but are often lost on the public at large. And I appreciate that. They shouldn't have to worry about too much of that. But a lot of effort goes into understanding exactly how we are going to entertain the governor's proposal. That is the current status and how we intend to proceed. I have told you individually, as I have told members of the press individually, that in this caucus we have members who are outspokenly opposed to the proposal. No secret, Senator Kelsey has been in media from Wall Street Journal to local press. That's been his position. There are other members here who are supportive of it, but most members are just in the middle with open minds. And so I wanted to begin to sort of lay out some of the proposed proceedings and how we will proceed when we get at it. Of importance is the fact I met for a little over an hour today with Jess Hale in legal. We have put together a task force, for lack of a better term, but a team of attorneys down there who are trying to parse all the relevant statutes and the regulations that come into play with something like this. And again, when you read the summary or the 10-page attachment, or whatever has been emailed out, that's very superficial, understandably so. But as you know, you're dealing with the Medicaid laws, the Social Security Act. Here in Tennessee, you're dealing with the original TennCare legislation that was passed in 1994. You're dealing with some 24 different waivers or amendments to waivers under the TennCare Act. You know, this is, I think, if I remember correctly, this is number 25. But again, this is the lawyer side of your leader's brain. All those things interrelate, and sometimes you find you actually have to read back through the amendments, all the previous generations of amendments, to give meaning to what is potentially being proposed today in Amendment 25. You've got the Internal Revenue Code. It's very complex. So I know to a lot of people who just want to get this over with, none of that seems to matter. But regardless of which side of the issue you may find yourself on, all these details will be very important, whether you're against it or whether you're for it, or whether you're just, unsure which way to go. So it's very complicated. And what we're trying to do is to lay out a timely and orderly process to get everyone through it in the best way possible, so that you can truly say you're representing your constituents, and not doing, as we've been critical of Washington for these many years now, not knowing what's in it, not passing something to later find out what's in it. Nobody wants to be in that situation. There are certain aspects of what the governor has proposed where, even if you look at what was sent out last Thursday, they admit they don't have the details yet. So there's some things that need to be in it that aren't in it yet. Presumably by the time we come back on February 2nd, those questions will have been answered. You recall that there's a public comment period attendant upon a proposal of a waiver of this sort or an amendment to the waiver, you should know that all public comments are posted, as I understand it, in real time, whereas they are received on the state website. So you can track those comments as they are coming in, pro or con. That says for the 30-day comment period. There's an actuarial study that is being done. As you go through the materials, you see reference to that. We've been told today by the administration that we should have the results of that study, that report, in time for the extraordinary session. So there is another component that could be of importance. But that is how we intend to proceed. It's very orderly and a lot of information. It's a heavy lift. But we want a process, however it turns out, that gives everyone an opportunity to be heard. And I said that, I think, to Dave Boucher a couple weeks ago about the moment in the sun. This is part of the process. The governor's put this forth, and it needs an opportunity for full reflection and review, just as you all need a full opportunity to review and if you wish to be heard on. Mr. Speaker, is there anything I've left out?
No, except maybe the committee process and how we're going to work it, and how I'm still trying to work through that. Of course, we're in the midst now of appointing our committees, the normal committees throughout the 109th General Assembly, which in a great scheme of things is not that hard, but not a lot of turnover, and I think we're going to be pretty accommodated to just about everybody the way it works out. But thank you all for that, by the way. But secondly, how we do committee, because I like to have a chance. I've talked to Beth about this. She can't do that. I think she's just going to keep her normal Commerce Committee, her normal Health Committee, etc. But I'd like to have a chance where all members, really 32, not 33, because I don't serve on committees. We'll have a committee of 10. That may be the Health Committee with Rusty Crowe. We'll have the Commerce Committee with Jack with 11, and the Finance Committee with 11. The ideal situation, we've talked about this with leadership, you could theoretically keep the current 11 on finance and then start working back from there, but I'm not even sure that works, because I don't think that it just won't work logistically, because like, for example, Bo's on 2, and how do you do that? Anyway, so that's the second thing that I'm trying to worry about over this next 2-week period, of how we put a committee together that's not a slam dunk on either side. That somebody, you look at that committee and say, well, that's never coming out of that one. Or look at that committee and say, yeah, that comes out easy. I'm trying not to do that, where we can balance that out. But at the same time, where every one of us in the Senate side, all 33 members, will be able to hear this in a committee before it gets to the floor. It has to pass through all 3 committees too. If it doesn't come out of one committee, it doesn't make the next one, just like every other bill. So that's a challenge for me, and working with leadership on how to make a committee that is fair, that you're a fair hearing, but not a slam dunk one way or the other. So we're trying to work through that. So I think that's the only other thing that I can think of, Mark. And I have been adamant that this shouldn't last longer than a week. And a week may not be 3 days. A week may be Friday or Saturday. If we may get to Wednesday and say it's not going to happen, let's just keep this. Let's just take this over until later on. So all that could play into it. But I do want the governor to get his State of the State address on February the 9th, and so we can get into regular session. I mean, in my opinion, we need some kind of backstop. I remember we came in for a 1-week session on November 1st, 1999, to hear the state income tax, and I was here on my birthday, November 20th. And you will see, well, for November 1st, November 20th, it's longer than 1 week, okay? And I think the only reason we adjourned then is because Thanksgiving came around. So you need some kind of a goal or a backstop to be there on that. So Mark, you're doing a great job. Thank you for what you're doing. You know, once again, I'm the big picture guy. You're down in the weeds, and I like you down in the weeds. They're always on lost ball and high weeds. Well, Mark's on lost ball. He's just in high weeds, okay? I need somebody like this to dig down into this. I'll be right up front with y'all. I'm not going to read the 24 waivers, okay? If anybody else here wants to, that's great. But thank you for the ones that are doing that. But if I'll have that big picture of how to set that committee system up to, again, get a fair hearing, yet figure out where we are as a caucus and as a Senate. So I guess that's about all.
Yes, sir. Senator Kelson.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, and thank you for that clarification. Just to make sure I'm understanding it correctly, then, it sounds like the resolution would be drafted to go into the session then at which February 9th would be the last. We would automatically adjourn February 9th. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then I'm assuming if it either passed or failed prior to that, then we could go ahead and adopt a resolution to adjourn earlier than that.
Correct.
Right.
It could be amended, yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if that reminded me of another issue, but I can't think of what it might be right now.
Mark, are you saying if it should fail in the first committee, it's over?
Well, under that scenario,
Gotta go
yes.
forward.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And that's, again, when I was talking about what it is, a lot of people just assume there's legislation, there's a bill of some sort, and as I had indicated previously, I think we've circulated some, 40 administration bills. I mean, we have bills on other subjects, and we've signed the jackets, and I've got co-prime sponsors. A number of you are working on, and we don't have that from the administration, and that's what I was alluding to. It's not a bill, but they're working on an HJR, and it will follow very closely, I suspect, the call, the proclamation, but the wording is important in that. And yes, sir, Chairman Bell.
You mentioned HJR, and the normal path for an HJR would be for it to go completely to the House before we take it up. But I'm assuming we're going to take up one concurrently, and
No.
We are going to let it go completely to the House before we take it up.
Correct. All the way to the HJR.
All the way to the floor.
Yeah. And there's been some confusion about that as to whether, we always have companion bills when it's legislation. That's not necessary with a House joint resolution or a Senate joint resolution.
Would the committees even wait until it passes the floor completely to the House?
I yield to the
We
speaker.
may have hearings as far as that goes, would probably be the vote, yes.
The vote, okay.
We have hearings and stuff. I don't want us just sitting around for 3 days, but it takes them sitting around for 3 days, so at least have the hearings.
That's what I was getting at.
Exactly.
But just not vote on it. Okay.
Okay.
Does the House have the same three committee?
Their structure's different.
Structure's different, but they're going through more than one committee in the House.
More than one.
Oh, yeah, and
Probably
subcommittees,
more
they're
than-
using
probably
exactly the same,
Subs and all that.
And subs.
and subs.
Yeah.
If it failed the first House sub, we're done.
But I do want to encourage, I want to encourage as much sunshine and discussion and debate about it as possible. That's the other side of the Capitol. But Leader McCormick has stepped up and taken the lead in his chamber, and he'll be fine. And I'm also trying to get from the administration. I say trying to get. It's not like it's a challenge, but I have found in trying to gather as much information as I can that there's sort of different data sets that have been put out by the administration to different groups depending on the audience. And I'm never quite sure whether maybe I received some information by email and just didn't see the email, quite frankly. But there's a PowerPoint with a certain summary that is circulating in some circles that I had not seen. Not being critical of that, I'm just saying everybody should be operating as best as possible off the same information. And if the administration can put out a presentation in a certain format for one group, they should probably do it for everybody. Again, to provide information and to minimize any confusion and that sort of thing. I've heard from some members about your accountant, whether you have received a letter from your accountant that it's about time to do the annual income tax returns, and some accounting firms are giving notice that they're not going to prepare your returns unless you've returned your Form 1095 or their worksheet. Well, what's a Form 1095? It's the form by which you certify that last year you had health care coverage. And that outrages some people. And then the other people, they say, all the more reason for us to forge ahead, because in Tennessee, we're paying the price, literally and figuratively, under this federal law. And so for those who say this is our money and we ought to get it back, this is sort of a rallying point. Just a couple of examples. I mean, there are many others. But we want you to know we'll keep the communications open. No deals have been cut. Nothing is set in stone. I'm standing here with you. I'm right here with you, and we're learning as we go. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.